Lisa Marie Presley's estranged husband said he received death threats when they split. Lisa Marie Presley's estranged husband, musician Michael Lockwood, received death threats when they split after 10 years of marriage, his attorney told a Los Angeles court on Wednesday. Michael had death threats. Miss Presley sold his musical equipment that he uses to make a living. She turned him into a pariah in the music business, attorney Jeff Sturman told Judge Diana Gould-Saltman on the third day of the former couple's messy divorce trial. Sturman said that when Presley, 50, filed for divorce in 2016, her annual income was around $2.2 million, while Lockwood's was negative $3,300. He had nothing, and she doesn't care, he told LA Superior Court. She is just looking out for herself. She had her inheritance from her father and whatever else she had, and she did not want him, Lockwood, to get a piece of it. The central issue of the divorce trial is the validity of a postnuptial agreement signed by Presley and Lockwood, 57, in July 2007 and again in November that year. In that prenup, both gave up rights to each other's property and both gave up the right to claim spousal support off the other should they divorce. Presley, who has claimed she sold Lockwood's musical equipment to reimburse some of her losses from Lockwood running up possibly millions on her credit card, wants the postnup enforced. Lockwood wants the judge to tear it up, contending that it's invalid because he didn't read it before he signed it because it didn't interest him and his attorney at the time didn't explain the details of the prenup to him. In court Wednesday, Presley, in a cream silk blouse, black pants and boots and a long black coat, looked on as both Sturman and her lawyer, Gary Fishbein, outlined their cases for declaring the postnup wholly or partially valid or not. Fishbein began by telling the court, "I have been doing this for 38 years and I have never heard of anyone asking a court to void an agreement on the basis of saying, 'I didn't read that agreement,' following it by saying, 'I wasn't interested in it.'" Guitarist Lockwood was paid around $245,000 a year as her musical director by Presley in 2006, the year they married, and $150,000 in 2007, the year they signed the postnup. So he was self-sufficient at that time, argued Fishbein. He was not disadvantaged. He waived spousal support in the postnuptial agreement that he chose not to read. Lockwood freely and voluntarily entered into the postnuptial agreement. He acknowledged that he was not threatened. Ms. Presley did not threaten to divorce him if he didn't sign. Mr. Lockwood said that he didn't read a single word of the postnup because it was not interesting to him. Frankly, that is mind-boggling. Lockwood has claimed that Presley hid her wealth from him, but Fishbein told the court that in a statement of her assets and liabilities attached to the 2007 postnup, her worth at the time was listed as $62 million. If Mr. Lockwood had bothered to read the agreement he would have known that, said Fishbein. But he wasn't interested. He added, Ms. Presley remained in the marriage under the mistaken understanding that he was going to honor this postnuptial agreement. Lockwood's lawyer, Sturman, questioned whether Presley had fully disclosed her finances to her soon-to-be ex-husband. Were they just fiction? He asked. Sturman took issue with the fact that in financial statements attached to the postnup, Presley's list of $62 million in assets, plus liabilities was only 8 lines long, whereas Lockwood took 9 whole pages to describe his negative zero worth. She was apparently telling him go fish. Fishbein retorted, so what? There was no misrepresentation, concealment or fraud. Mr. Lockwood had the opportunity to investigate Miss Presley's finances but he chose not to. He can't complain about it later. When Presley was in the witness box Tuesday, she admitted her memory was foggy, and Wednesday Sturman made a point of saying that she couldn't remember the date or year she married Lockwood or how long their marriage was. She can't remember whether she had 1 or 5 conversations with Mr. Lockwood about their postnup, he said. Sturman said that when Presley was paying Lockwood a retainer in 2007, she wanted him to only work for her. So he gave up his connections in the music business world. She was paying him a retainer to be available to her. He added that when Presley supposedly discovered that Lockwood had run up her credit cards to thousands or millions, she sold his musical property, guitars, amplifiers, computers, the things he uses to make a living. Sturman said that if the postnup was determined by the judge to be wholly valid and Lockwood received no money from Presley, not only would he be left living on a poverty-level income, to add insult to injury he would also be in the hole for hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. He has nothing. Judge Gould Saltman adjourned the case to consider her decision on the validity of the postnup. Presley, who last week persuaded a judge to seal from public view any documents about custody of the couple's 9-year-old twin daughters, Finley and Harper, filed for divorce from Lockwood in June 2016. She has since confessed that she had a serious drug problem, and had to get into rehab several times, during the last 3 years of her marriage. Last February, Presley was ordered by Judge Patrick Cathcart to pay Lockwood $100,000 in legal fees, though that was less than a quarter of what he was asking for. Lisa Marie has said in court documents that she's some $16 million in debt, $10 million of which is owing back taxes. And in February she filed a separate lawsuit in L.A. against her former business manager, Barry J. Siegel, accusing him of frittering away her one-time $100 million trust fund and charging her $700,000 a month while he was losing her fortune.